There are roads we travel without a second thought, paths that lead us safely from one place to another. But then, there are roads like this one, a place so shrouded in legend and mystery that just hearing its name sends a chill down your spine. Welcome to Shades of Death Road. They say it's a stretch of highway where reality and the supernatural cross paths, where history itself has left scars so deep you can feel them in the air. They say the road earned its name through bloodshed, betrayal, and disease, its shadows carrying the stories of those who vanished, those who met their end under the cover of darkness. For centuries, the legends surrounding this road have grown, each tale more haunting than the last. Travelers talk of a fog that rises from the lake, thick and heavy, concealing ghostly figures that drift along the water's edge. Locals share hushed accounts of restless spirits, mysterious lights, and forces unseen that seem to follow you long after you've left. Is it just a name, or is there something darker at play? Could a road really hold the memories of the past so powerfully that it reaches out to those who dare cross it? Tonight, we're taking you down Shades of Death Road, into the shadows of New Jersey's most haunted byway, where each twist and turn brings another unanswered question, another flicker of something unexplainable. But beware, once you enter this place, you may find it difficult to leave it behind. So, if you're ready, let's begin our journey. Just remember, some roads don't simply take you somewhere, they change you. The name alone is enough to make anyone pause. Shades of Death Road. It's a title that feels like a warning. A reminder that some places carry more than just a past. They carry shadows. But where did this name come from? How did a simple stretch of road come to be known as one of the most haunted highways in America? Stories of the road's origins are as twisted as its path, each tale darker than the last. Some say it started with bloodshed. Long ago, settlers arrived in these quiet meadows, eager to claim the land as their own. But with their arrival came conflict, clashes that turned violent, lives taken under the cover of darkness. The whispers say that this was just the beginning, that the road became a place where life was taken easily, quickly, and without remorse. Another legend tells of a lawless band of squatters who made these meadows their home. These weren't just rough folk. They were known for their wild tempers, quick fists, and darker impulses. Men would fight over money, land, even women, and it wasn't uncommon for these fights to end in death. When one too many bodies were found abandoned by the roadside, people began to call this stretch the Shades in reference to its deadly reputation. But over time, as the violence continued, that name would take on a darker twist, the Shades of Death. But not all of the stories focus on violence. Some say that death on this road was not brought by hand but by nature itself. They speak of an outbreak, a mysterious illness that swept through the region like a storm. In the early days, this area was known as the Great Meadows, a wetland filled with stagnant water and heavy, humid air. It was here that a plague of malaria-carrying mosquitoes spread disease throughout the community, claiming lives each year without warning. Families buried their dead in the marshy soil, watching helplessly as friends and loved ones fell victim to the sickness. For them, this road became a grim reminder of their loss, a path that seemed cursed by nature itself. The road weaves through the heart of these stories, a place where reality and myth have long been intertwined. Ask any local, and they'll tell you. The origins of this name are buried in history, and no one can say for sure which tale is true. But the one thing everyone agrees on is this: Shades of Death Road is no ordinary highway. It carries the weight of its past like an invisible burden, an unseen shadow that seems to follow anyone who dares to travel its length. So, as you begin down this road, remember that it's not just the name that has earned Shades of Death its reputation. It's the stories. Stories of a place where life was cut short, where peace never quite settled, and where the shadows seemed to linger, whispering secrets of the past. Perhaps the name itself is a warning, one passed down through the generations. that this road is more than just a way forward, it's a reminder of everything that has been lost. As you continue down Shades of Death Road, the landscape shifts, growing darker, quieter, and more foreboding. On one side of the road lies a lake, still and cold, its waters almost black beneath the heavy canopy of trees. But this isn't just any lake. Locals say it holds something within, something that reaches out in the early morning or late at night, when the mist rises thick and heavy, blanketing the road and everything around it in a fog so dense, it's almost alive. They call it the Great Meadows Fog, a phenomenon that seems to emerge from nowhere, rolling off the lake and swallowing everything in its path. The fog is strange here, almost purposeful, as if it knows where it's going, as if it's hiding something. Fishermen who come here at dawn tell tales of seeing things within it. Pete Valier, a local who's spent countless mornings casting his line into these waters, remembers his first encounter with the fog. He describes it as an otherworldly experience. The mist-forming pillars that rose from the lake, swirling and shifting as if moved by hands unseen. Pete isn't the only one who's seen strange things in the fog. Many who have driven through it speak of figures walking along the water's edge, shadows that appear for just a moment before vanishing back into the mist. Some say these are the spirits of those who met their end here, bound to the lake, forever wandering through the fog. Others believe the lake itself holds memories, remnants of lives lost, tragedies forgotten but not gone. Chrissy Waters, who works at the nearby Crush General Store, remembers the stories her mother told her about the lake. Her mother claimed that the water was cursed, tainted by an old plague that once ravaged the area. According to her, bodies were cast into the lake to contain the sickness, left to sink beneath the surface, their souls still lingering just beneath the water. For Chrissy's family, the fog was a sign, a warning to stay away from the lake, to leave the spirits undisturbed. But the Great Meadows Fog doesn't stay by the lake. On certain nights, it drifts across Shades of Death Road, spreading through the trees, shrouding the path in an unnatural silence. Drivers have reported feeling an eerie presence as they move through it, as if something is watching from within, hidden in the mist. Some claim to have seen faint figures in their headlights, strangers dressed in clothing from another time, staring back at them with empty, unseeing eyes. Others describe feeling a coldness settle over them, a chill that doesn't fade even after they've left the fog behind. To the locals, the fog is more than just an atmospheric effect. It's a reminder of the past, a veil that keeps the lake's secrets hidden, only revealing glimpses to those who dare to look too closely. For those who believe, the Great Meadows Fog is a boundary between the world of the living and the world of the lost, a place where time blurs, and where shadows of the past walk once more. So, the next time you find yourself driving along Shades of Death Road, and you see the fog rolling in, think twice before venturing forward, because in that mist, in that silence, you might just find that you're not alone. The lake remembers, and so does the fog, carrying the weight of lives long gone, whispering their stories to anyone brave enough to listen. Not far from the lake, nestled in the trees along Shades of Death Road, there's a small, weathered building that's become as much a part of the legend as the road itself. It's known as the Dark Moon Bar, a place where travelers stop for a drink and locals share stories of the road's dark past. On the outside, it looks like any other roadside tavern, but step inside and you'll feel it. An atmosphere thick with secrets and a history steeped in whispers and warnings. The bar has seen countless visitors over the years, some looking for answers, others seeking a thrill, but all of them leaving with a story. As soon as you walk through its doors, the walls seem to close in around you, dimly lit by flickering lights, the air heavy with the scent of wood and something you can't quite place. It's here, in this shadowy refuge, that locals gather to share the stories they would never dare tell anywhere else. The regulars know the stories of Shades of Death Road better than anyone. They speak of eerie encounters, strange figures spotted along the roadside, and lights that flicker in the distance only to vanish when approached. Each tale is told with a mix of caution and reverence, as if even speaking of these experiences is enough to draw the road's mysteries a little closer. And as the stories fill the room, a quiet tension seems to settle over the place, a reminder that even within these walls, the road is never far away. Chrissy Waters, a familiar face in the bar, often recounts her family's tales of the road. She remembers her mother's words, warnings of a curse that lingers in the water and on the land. Chrissy's mother would tell her, in hushed tones, of the people who became sick after spending too much time near the lake, of the spirits she believed still wandered the road. Chrissy's voice softens when she speaks, as if afraid that the walls themselves are listening, that the road's shadows might seep into the bar. The Dark Moon Bar has a reputation for strange happenings. Patrons have reported feeling an icy chill sweep across the room without explanation, a shadow passing in the corner of their eye, or the unmistakable sensation of being watched. Some even claim they've heard footsteps above them, echoing across the empty rooms upstairs, a sound that stops the moment anyone tries to investigate. The regulars have come to accept it, nodding quietly when newcomers ask about the strange phenomena. After all, they say, it's just part of what comes with being this close to shades of Death Road. But for those who come in search of a thrill, a chance to test their courage, the bar has a different feel altogether. They laugh at the stories, brush off the chills, and assume it's all part of the show. Until, that is, they leave with a little less bravado, glancing over their shoulders as they walk out into the night. The Dark Moon Bar may be a sanctuary from the road, but for some, it's a place that offers a glimpse into the road's darkest secrets, leaving them with an unease that lingers long after they've gone. For the locals, the Dark Moon Bar is more than just a gathering place. It's a refuge from the mysteries they can't explain, a place where they can share their fears without judgment. But even they know there are some things you don't speak of, things better left unsaid. They'll tell you that once you start sharing stories of the road has a way of listening, a way of pulling you deeper into its shadows. So, if you find yourself at the Dark Moon Bar, remember, the road's secrets don't stay behind when you leave. The tales you hear might follow you, linger in your thoughts, and if you're not careful, you might just find yourself drawn back, unable to shake the feeling that you've left something behind on Shades of Death Road, or that something has come home with you. Shades of Death Road is haunted by more than shadows and fog. Beneath its surface lies a darker history, one that's rooted not in legend but in the very real suffering of those who once lived here. Alongside the eerie tales of spirits and restless souls, there's a story of sickness, of lives claimed by an invisible enemy that some believe still lingers on this cursed land. In the early days, this area was known as the Great Meadows, a low-lying, marshy expanse where stagnant water pooled and heavy air clung to everything. It was here, amid the wetlands, that an illness took hold. Locals called it the plague, a mysterious sickness that swept through the area, claiming lives year after year. It struck without warning, a quiet terror that left families grieving, their loved ones lost to something no one could control or understand. The people of Great Meadows learned to live with the annual outbreaks, but as the sickness grew more relentless, they began to fear the land itself. There were whispers that the water was cursed, tainted by an ancient wrath, and that the spirits of the dead lingered there, haunting the place where their bodies had been laid to rest. Some believed that the sickness was not a natural one, that it was a curse placed upon them by those who had been wronged, those whose lives had been taken too soon. According to local lore, when the plague became unbearable, bodies were cast into the lake, left to sink into its dark depths in a desperate attempt to contain the illness. It was an act of both necessity and fear, a way of distancing themselves from the dead while hoping that the sickness wouldn't follow. But with each body that entered the water, the lake seemed to grow darker, heavier, as if it were absorbing the grief and despair of those left behind. Chrissy Waters, whose family has lived near shades of death road for generations, recalls her mother's warnings. "Stay away from the lake," her mother would say, her voice low, her eyes distant. She told Chrissy that the water held a curse, that the spirits of those lost to the plague still wandered there, bound to the place where they had met their end. For Chrissy's family, the lake wasn't just water. It was a resting place for souls who could find no peace, a place to be respected and feared. The fog that rises from the lake, known as the Great Meadows Fog, is believed by some to be more than just mist. To them, it's the very essence of the lake, vapor that carries the sorrow and suffering of those who lost their lives here. When the fog drifts over the road, cloaking everything in silence, it's as if the lake itself is reaching out, reminding the living of what happened here, of the lives that were lost to an unseen enemy. Travelers who pass through the fog often report a strange, oppressive feeling, as though a weight has settled over them. Some say they feel a chill that seeps into their bones, a coldness that lingers long after they've left the road behind. Others claim to hear faint whispers, voices carried on the wind, calling out from the mist. They described seeing faces in the water's reflection, eyes that stare back at them with a haunting sadness, as if begging to be remembered. To the people of Warren County, the plague and the cursed water are not just stories. They are part of the landscape, woven into the very fabric of shades of Death Road. For those who believe, the lake is more than a body of water. It's a boundary between life and death, a place where the past refuses to let go, where the memories of the lost drift like shadows, bound forever to the fog. So, when the fog rises and the lake darkens, remember that you're not just passing through an empty stretch of land. You're walking through a place marked by tragedy, a place that carries the weight of lives lost to sickness and fear. And if you feel that cold chill settle over you, if you see a face in the fog, remember this. Here on Shades of Death Road, the past doesn't stay buried. As if Shades of Death Road weren't unsettling enough on its own, there's another path branching off this haunted highway and narrow, almost hidden turn known as Lenape Lane. To the unassuming traveler, it might seem like just another quiet country lane, but to those who know its story, Lenape Lane is a place best left undisturbed. It's a road where the boundary between the living and the spirit world feels impossibly thin. Locals warn that Lenape Lane is no ordinary stretch of asphalt. Visitors describe an eerie stillness that settles over the lane, as if every sound, every breath, is swallowed by the surrounding trees. It's a place where the air grows colder, where a strange tension hangs in the silence, and where you're never quite sure if you're alone. And for those brave enough, or perhaps foolish enough, to follow it to the end, the stories grow darker still. One late night, a traveler named Mike D. and his friend Rob found themselves on Lenape Lane. It was past midnight, and curiosity had gotten the better of them. As they drove, they felt the temperature drop, a bone-deep chill that seemed to seep through the car itself. The lane led them to an old, abandoned stable at the end of the road, a structure that looked like it hadn't been touched in years. They both felt a strange, creeping unease, a feeling that whatever lurked here was far from friendly. But it wasn't until they turned back that things took a truly unsettling turn. As they began driving away, the windows of their car fogged up, as if touched by an unseen hand. And then, in the mist on the windshield, shapes began to emerge, an eerie skull on Mike's side, and a cross on Rob's. Neither of them spoke as the fog faded, and when they finally looked, the strange shapes had vanished, leaving only a lingering fear that chased them off Lenape Lane and back to Shades of Death Road. This wasn't the first strange experience on Lenape Lane, and it certainly wasn't the last. Many have come back from that road with stories of ghostly apparitions, figures that appear in the fog, only to vanish the moment you get too close. Some say they've seen shadowy forms darting between the trees, following silently as they make their way down the lane. Others report seeing their own reflections in the car mirrors distorted, like another face looking back at them, unblinking, unfamiliar. For those who venture down Lenape Lane, it's not uncommon to leave with more questions than answers. Who or what haunts this isolated path? Some say it's the spirits of those who lost their lives along shades of Death Road, wandering through the forest, bound to the places where they met their end. Others believe it's something older, something tied to the land itself, a guardian spirit or a restless entity that watches over Lenape Lane, warning intruders to turn back before it's too late. And yet, despite the warnings, Lenape Lane continues to draw the curious, the thrill seekers, the ones who want to see if the stories are true. Some come away shaken, unwilling to talk about what they experienced. Others come back time and time again, unable to resist the pull of the unknown, as if Lenape Lane holds a secret that only reveals itself to those who dare to seek it out. But if you find yourself drawn to Lenape Lane, take heed. For here, shadows seem to have a life of their own, the fog a mind of its own. And the silence, well, the silence is anything but empty. And as you drive away, don't be surprised if you catch something in the corner of your eye, something that follows you even as you leave. Because some roads are more than just paths through the woods. They're places that hold on to you long after you've left, refusing to let you forget. If the stories of shades of Death Road and Lenape Lane weren't enough, there's yet another place that fuels the local legends, a place known as Ghost Lake. Set just off the road, this seemingly quiet, unassuming lake holds a reputation that chills even the most skeptical of visitors. Ghost Lake, the name alone suggests a place where the past lingers, where echoes of those who came before still drift across the water. It's said that at night, the lake transforms into something far more unsettling. The surface, calm by day, takes on a dark, almost glassy quality under the cover of darkness, reflecting shadows that shouldn't be there. And then there are the strange occurrences, the kind that defy explanation, the kind that make people question what they truly saw. Those who come here at night speak of an uneasy feeling, a heaviness in the air, as if the lake itself is aware of them, watching from below. One night, a man named Fievel and his friends decided to explore Ghost Lake. The clock had just struck 3 in the morning, and the lake was cloaked in an eerie silence. As they sat in their car, something unusual caught their attention. Around them, they saw what appeared to be footprints in the hay that had been scattered across the ground. Slowly, the footprints circled their vehicle, moving closer and closer, as if someone or something was walking around them. For 10 long minutes, they watched, feeling trapped in their car, until the footprints finally disappeared into the night. But the lake isn't the only strange thing here. Just off the shore lies an old, abandoned cabin, decaying and forgotten. Local legend says it was once a place of shelter, but now it serves as a reminder of everything left behind. The windows are shattered, the walls are rotting, and inside, there's a piano, silent, untouched, yet somehow, impossibly alive. Fievel recalls a night he ventured into the cabin with friends, their footsteps echoing against broken glass on the floor. They made their way through the crumbling rooms, daring each other to keep going. And then, just as they reached the top floor, it happened. From somewhere down the hallway, they heard it, the unmistakable sound of a piano key, played slow and deliberate, reverberating through the empty space. As they stood frozen, the sound of glass crunching beneath unseen footsteps began to approach. They shone a flashlight down the hall, but there was no one there. Panic took over, and they fled the cabin, leaving the ghostly music behind, echoing through the night. Ghost Lake has become a place where those in search of the paranormal are drawn, hoping to witness the strange phenomena that others have described. Many leave with tales of mysterious lights hovering just above the water, of shadowy figures that move along the shoreline, of reflections that seem to watch them as they walk by. Some claim that if you look at the lake long enough, you'll see faces in the water, faces that seem to rise just beneath the surface, watching you with hollow, empty eyes. To the locals, Ghost Lake is more than just a body of water. It's a reminder of everything lost, a place where spirits seem to gather, bound to its depths. Some say that the lake was cursed, that it's a final resting place for those who were never meant to find peace. Others believe that the lake acts as a mirror, reflecting back not only what's in front of it but also the past, the shadows of those who met their end nearby. For those who dare to visit, Ghost Lake offers a glimpse into something beyond our understanding. It's a place where the silence is thick, where every creak, every ripple feels deliberate, as if something hidden within the lake stirs when no one is looking. So if you find yourself drawn to Ghost Lake, remember to tread carefully, because here, in this still, dark water, you may just find that you're not the only one watching. As if the tales surrounding Shades of Death Road weren't unsettling enough, there's one legend that adds a physical reminder of the lives lost here. A series of bumps that many say hold a secret buried beneath the road itself. They're known as the 12 bumps, a peculiar, uneven stretch that many claim isn't just a flaw in the pavement, but a solemn marker, a silent memorial for those whose stories have been buried under the asphalt. According to the legend, these bumps are more than just random rises in the road. Local folklore tells of an entire family buried here, laid to rest in shallow graves directly beneath this stretch of Shades of Death Road. The story goes that long ago, this family met a tragic end, and with no one left to remember them, they were buried right here, where the road would eventually pass over them. The bumps, they say, are the only reminder of their existence, a quiet memorial hidden in plain sight. Some who drive over this section of road report a strange sensation, a feeling that they're not alone, that each bump is like a heartbeat, a pulse of something that still lingers here. It's said that, if you drive down this stretch carefully, you'll feel exactly 12 bumps. But locals warn that if you feel one less, you might have disturbed something that should have been left undisturbed. There are those who claim that these bumps have a life of their own, that each one represents a soul tied to this land, bound to protect or perhaps even warn those who travel Shades of Death Road. Some travelers report seeing figures as they pass over the bumps, shadows standing by the roadside, just visible in the corner of their eyes. Figures that vanish the moment they look back. Others describe feeling a strange chill or a creeping sense of dread, as if they've crossed into a place where the living aren't entirely welcome. One particularly eerie account comes from a local named Amanda H., who shared the story of a strange encounter while driving down this stretch of road. As she moved over the bumps, she glanced into her rearview mirror and saw something unexpected. A man on horseback, following closely behind her car. She brushed it off as a trick of the mind, but each time she looked back, there he was, his face pale and distant, the horse's hooves silent against the dark road. But when she turned around fully, there was nothing there, just the empty stretch of road behind her. Yet every time she glanced back at the mirror, he would reappear, keeping pace with her, a silent guardian or perhaps something far more ominous. The legend of the 12 bumps has given this section of road an air of solemnity, a place where even those who don't believe in ghosts find themselves slowing down, counting each rise beneath their wheels. The locals say it's a sign of respect, a way to honor the past, to acknowledge the lives lost here, and to show reverence for the souls that may still linger below. For some, the bumps are simply an oddity, a peculiar quirk of a haunted road. But for those who know the stories, they are a reminder, a message from the past that refuses to fade. The bumps serve as a threshold, a physical connection between the living and the dead, a place where the line between the two worlds is blurred, where every turn of the wheel is a step into the unknown. So, the next time you find yourself driving down Shades of Death Road, and you feel the subtle rise and fall of the bumps beneath you, take a moment to consider their significance. Maybe they're just flaws in the road. Or maybe, just maybe, there's something more, a silent reminder of those who came before, and a warning to those who dared to disturb the shadows. As we end our journey down Shades of Death Road, one question remains. Would you dare to explore it yourself? Would you face the fog, the shadows, the whispers of those who came before? This road, with all its stories and mysteries, waits for those who seek to uncover its truth. But beware, for once you've driven it, you may never look at an empty road the same way again. If this journey into the unknown has captured your curiosity, don't forget to like this video and subscribe to our channel for more tales of haunted highways and places where reality blurs with legend. Have you had your own encounter with the unexplained? Or do you have a place you'd like us to explore next? Let us know in the comments below. We'd love to hear your stories. Thank you for joining us on this journey. Remember, some roads are best traveled from a distance. But for those who are drawn to the thrill of the unknown, we'll see you again, right here, where the shadows linger and the stories never end.